A second Minneapolis police officer took the stand on Wednesday in the federal trial for the George Floyd killing. Former officer Alexander King testified he felt he had no control over George Floyd as he tried to push him into a squad car on May 25, 2020, also saying that Floyd's behavior went to extreme measures and that he seemed to have no pain response. King admitted he deferred to Chauvin, who was considered the senior officer on scene. Earlier in the day, former Minneapolis officer Tutau completed his testimony under cross-examination. The two men, along with a third officer, are charged in federal court with violating George Floyd's constitutional rights. The third officer, Thomas Lane, is expected to take the stand before the conclusion of this federal trial.
The last blockade on the U.S.-Canada border is over as truckers and farmers at the Emerson border crossing Manitoba are moving out Wednesday after the RCMP said that it reached a resolution with the protesters. Royal Canadian Mounted Police said the officers will be escorting the remaining vehicles from the area, and police remain at the border to make sure the highway and border stay open. Authorities said part of the negotiations included ensuring that there would be no charges or arrests against those at the border. Canadian manufacturers and exporters said it was applauding the end of the blockade, but also calling all levels of government to have a solution in place to prevent something like this happening in the future.
CDC Director Rochelle Walensky says while they are considering new benchmarks for masking, no change in guidelines were announced Wednesday. The agency is expected to loosen its indoor masking guidelines as early as next week. The news comes as many states and private businesses, including Disney World and the Coachella Music Festival, are loosening their rules for mask wearing.
Despite Russia's assurances it is pulling troops from Ukraine's border, the U.S. says that there's no proof Putin is telling the truth. Still, the Biden administration says it's doing everything it can do to end the tension and the diplomatic solution. NBC's Bree Jackson is on Capitol Hill with the details.
Mixed messages from Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry releasing video claiming to show its forces pulling back from Ukraine's borders. Both U.S. and NATO allies now say that's false.
So far, we have not seen any sign of withdrawal or de-escalation.
Despite what they are saying, they are not withdrawing troops. They are in fact adding troops to the border.
The Biden administration says Russia added as many as 7,000 troops to the estimated 150,000 already stationed near Ukraine's borders, further raising fears of an invasion.
We are now in the window where it could start in any time, and our concern has only increased in recent days.
This as another wave of U.S. troops arrive in Poland. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is also in Europe this week, meeting with allies. An all-out push for diplomacy happening overseas and here at home.
Certainly plenty of topics for discussion with Russia that could help avoid a crisis that would be absolutely devastating for Russia.
The U.S. must keep sending these strong messages, verbally and with concrete actions.
The message in Ukraine Wednesday, unity. People there expressing optimism that Russia won't attack while remaining cautious amid warnings from the U.S.
It makes people nervous, but it's helpful. So, yeah, it's aggressive.
U.S. officials also sending a clear message to Americans in the region. Leave now. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.